lived on the farm until I was 3, and then we moved to the suburbs, and even then my parents were growing food. We always grew food, and it's a strong word, but I'll say I hated it because it took me away from being able to play. It seemed like a lot of hard work, but as soon as I left home, within several months, I wanted to grow food. That was what was so strong in my heart to do, and never owned land, so I was always on somebody else's land, growing and making exchanges, and then I decided I love this so much, maybe I can make a living at doing this, which I don't necessarily recommend, because sometimes what you love, if you start translating that into money, and the pressure comes, to make money from doing something that you used to love, and now there's tension, and there's pressure, and there's marketing, and so I did that for 30 years. I marketed food, sold it. I did some CSAs. I did lots of farmers markets, and had a very niche market in a small mountain town in Colorado, and it was very stressful, managing big farms, and mostly doing it by myself, and because I'm very independent, and finally Sonny came along, and he had a bit of an income, Social Security, and so now I moved to Hummingbird, and I finally get to do what I love to do, and give it away. This massive, huge garden. It's probably 15,000 square foot of growing space, very intensely planted, and I just get to. It's like a love affair with me. Every spring I'm regenerated after winter, and I go out there and I start just feeling like, what does the land want, and what wants to grow here, and start planting seeds, and putting a lot of love into those seeds, and then tending and caring and watering and harvesting and getting to give it away. I mean, to me that's a gift. I get to do what I love, and I wish the whole world got to do that. Really got to wake up every morning and say, this is what I love to do, and I get to do that. What would grow here naturally is that it's very limited. We have a harsh climate. Climate. It seems so benevolent right now. There's beautiful sun, and it doesn't get too hot here, and really the summer we might have a week where it gets in the 90s, but other than that, 70s, 80s. But then the nighttime temperature gets, it was 38 at the end of August for a couple of nights, and things like cucumbers and tomatoes don't like that too much, so and hoop houses and row covers, and it ends up being not quite so natural, but it's it creates an artificial climate. So we can put up tomatoes for the winter, because we're eating 90% from the garden. I'd say 85 to 90% from the garden and the goats, and so we want as much variety as possible. We don't want to live on rutabagas and beets.
You're gonna enjoy life,
right, right. We want to have lots of. We want to look forward to our meals, and so we do a lot of season extending, as they call it, and still it's really tricky, because in the spring it's dry. We have this dry period in the spring where the wind comes through, 40, 50 miles an hour, and it just sucks the moisture out of the plants and us, and everything's like laying there, and you think, wow, is this really going to happen? 2 years now we've gardened here, and every spring, both springs I've said, I don't know if we're going to get any food, Sonny. It's looking kind of bleak, and the wind just kept blowing and blowing, and then finally things started growing a little bit, and we started getting a little moisture, and the first rain was like this devastating hail.
Oh no.
We get a lot of hail. And the hail comes, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can run down and cover a few things, but for the most part, everything's just exposed, and you go down there after half an hour of hail, and there's holes, everything's been shredded, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't think we're going to get any food this year. And then things come back, like the life force in plants is just tremendous. You know, their will to live and to grow, and you look at it now, and it's outrageous. And we had 3 hailstorms that looked like they had, you know, wiped things out, and so we grow just about everything. I mean, we're not fond of okra.
And
there's
you
no
don't
okra
grow
down there.
just for yourself and Sonny, right?
Right. We grow for the community, and you know, they're not as I'd say dedicated. There's not enough food to have everybody eat 90% out of the garden. But in the summer, there's a lot of fresh veggies going to the community, and
And there's on average 20 people at any time?
yeah, and I'm not sure. I mean, people are still eating from the grocery stores.
Yeah.
It would take maybe an acre, and I'd say that's about a third. So this is the opposite of monoculture. I mean, sometimes you can't even see where the food is growing. It's so diverse in flowers and weeds and you know, uninvited and invited plants of all kinds.
Yeah. This was in a year you grew this?
Actually, we started it last year. We filled the whole thing up last spring because I wanted to grow. I wanted to see what one person could do.
Here comes the water.
As far as growing food for, you know, my adopted family and my community, and so yeah, this is full time though.
No doubt.
Very full time. We watch them rolling around in the pollen, and then we eat the honey, and we know where it came from. And that's the whole thing about this food system. We know where our food comes from. We know what the goats have been eating. We know, you know, what we're eating, and it's such a good feeling to have that connection with our food and really get its origin and what goes into it. And yeah, and I think, you know, I'm harvesting on, like, there's one day a week I harvest for the community and put it all in that little fridge over there, and I'm thinking about the people who are going to eat it. And, you know, there's a connection there, and that's, I think, what people are hungering for. You know, I think everybody here kind of knows what that means, but there's a lot of people just hungering to be connected to their food and each other, and you know, the animals and the land.
It's one thing
nature.
to say I love Mother Gaia, but then have your life be destructive to it.
Yeah.
As to go, I love Mother Gaia. Look at, here's a space of love I created with bringing water. She did this. This is Sequoia's mandala of her love.
Totally. And the earth reciprocates.
Yeah, and she responds, and the plants make it all happen, and she just makes it rain. And she feeds the soil. That's all she does.
With her loving energy.
Yeah, and it's, in a way, we were talking the other day about spiritual paths, and you know, there's a devotional path and a more of a meditative path, and I felt like this is my devotion. You know, I'm not devoted to a guru. I'm devoted to, you know, like listening to nature and creating beauty and food, and this is my devotion. And it can be, you know, it can be a spiritual path. A beautiful, beautiful path. For me it is.